Hey, and we're back with part two with my conversation with Sarita. In this episode, we're going to dive into entrepreneurship or her journey into it. And I was very fascinated to what actually happened along the way. Now, I've always had this dilemma, and maybe you've thought about this too, but I always have this gripe when people say, follow your passion. I'm like, how do you follow a passion? For me, I never was able to do that. If I think about all the things I was passionate about, I could never turn it into a business. But often I thought about what do I feel I want to offer in the world? What can I bring a solution towards? So I defined it as a sense of purpose. Now listening to Sarita, I found our conversation leaning into the same way. So we did dive in a little bit about between passion versus purpose. And I'm curious to know what you think about that. So enjoy this week's episode and do give us a like or a share to someone. It does help me get this podcast in front of different audiences, but also it hopefully helps someone out there. That's the whole point of these wonderful conversations. Enjoy this week's episode.
So beyond all these layers and layers and layers that we have, you have done some pretty impressive stuff. Actually, you've done something that my feet would say, thank God. Oh, tell me. So what has your journey been like? Because so far, having all these different cultures, coming to do what you're doing, because I didn't want to reveal it, I want you to share with my listeners what you're doing and how on earth you got to it.
So I founded a company for medical socks against bunion. Bunions is the deformity of the big toe, and it can cause some pain, but it doesn't have to. But if we don't prevent, the big toe is leaning more and more forward to the other toes, and we're trying to prevent it, and we try to reduce the number of surgeries per year. And bunions, usually most women are affected of. So we have out of 10 people, 9 women who have a bunion. And then every third woman in colder countries have a bunion. And that's something, nobody's talking about. And I had strong bunion pain as I was working for the justice. And I was always wearing high heels. So my toes were like squeezed together to a point where I couldn't walk anymore. So I was like, I need those bunion socks in order to wear them on a daily basis and to prevent that type of pain. And when I thought about it, I knew exactly what product I needed, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started to research maybe in Europe, maybe in the States, and I couldn't find that product. And I was like, that's so random because we have 8,000 makeup brands, shampoo brands, and body lotion brands, but nobody is taking care of the feet who are actually carrying us through life. So I was like, okay, there must be a reason. And then I started, looking into patents. So maybe somebody patented the idea, but nobody wants to touch it.
Yeah.
So after realizing that that product hasn't been patented, I was like, okay, this is something I really, really find so important. And that bunion pain really limited me in my daily routine, in my daily life quality. It was so bad that I was like, okay, I would definitely want to, give it a try if technically that is even possible to create, because we're working with high-end medical silicone attached to cotton, and I wasn't even sure if that's going to last. So that's how I started with the research and development for the first couple of months, and gave the socks to all my friends to test it and give me feedback. At some point, I've decided to apply at Shark Tank Germany. In Germany, it's called Die Höhle der Löwen.
Yes.
And I remember I was again in South Africa living my life, and then they have accepted me. So I did my pitch from Cape Town, and they said you have to come to Cologne for the pitch. And then I flew back to Germany, and they offered me 2 deals, which I was very happy about. By the way, the pitch went for 3 hours long. So usually
3 hours?
Yes.
I only see like 30. We only get to see like 5 minutes.
Correct. So
Exactly.
they cut it up to
Wow.
5 minutes. So, the audience assuming is like you're walking in, wanting 150,000 euros and you get them in 5 minutes. Yay.
Yeah.
But I must say, it was one of the best experiences, really, like going on there.
Wow.
I was
Yeah.
the first Black female founder in
Well done,
Germany.
you.
Thank you. Attending, and they were super lovely. They, showed high respect for that medical part, and it was beautiful. I loved it, and yeah, ever since I'm running my company.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to get confession time. I'm going to confess here. I love high heels in my days because when I used to wear high heels, I felt like I owned the room, right? But the pain was excruciating from the front of my foot all the way to the underneath of my foot to the back of my foot. And I used to think, why are we really torturing ourselves? Because if I looked at the shoes that we're supposed to wear, they're so ugly. I'm like, I don't feel like I own the shoes. I don't feel like I own a room with ugly shoes on, right? So we
Yeah.
end up wearing these shoes. And then it got me thinking when you and I were talking back to this moment, right? Because I went to flats and I was like, if I'm going to go on stage now, it's just wear the shoes, get off the stage and put on my regular shoes, right? But I realized that people do perceive you for having these fashion heels, but at the cost of bunions, right? So, do you think there's any way that we can evolve with the bunions from bunion socks to bunion shoes free also at some point?
So there's a lot of information and a lot of questions. I will try to break it down.
Yes,
So first of
please.
all, the cause of bunions in the first place is inherited and not due
Oh,
to
really?
yes. I didn't know that either because my pain came from high heels, right?
Yeah.
So you usually, as a woman or in general, you usually have a tendency already genetically. And then by wearing unhealthy shoes, that can also be flat shoes, there's also unhealthy flat shoes, you are supporting the bunion from outside. But I have clients who have worn their whole life Birkenstocks and have a bunion. I have teenagers of 11 years old who are too young for high heels who had already a bunion surgery. So in 90% of all cases, it's inherited. And then due to wearing unhealthy shoes, the deformity is getting supported. So even when I have clients who love high heels, I always try to find a middle way. So I always suggest, for example, my clients to wear those nice, beautiful, fashionable high heels. But then after, when they come home, to put on the bunion socks, which is the toe separator between the big and the second toe. And at least, even when you are on your sofa or in bed, whatever, to just move around a little bit with the big toes. So it's getting the idea back to moving back in its original position.
Oh,
So,
I like that.
yeah, and then you have a little bit of like a toe gymnastic, which is helping the muscles to adjust to being back in the normal position. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I usually try to communicate. And then I have this wonderful, wonderful company in the UK I've been working on forever. We are actually planning a podcast next week. And we've been working together forever. And Jennifer has a bunion on both feet. She's a founder of bunion shoes in a modern way.
Okay.
So she's the exclusive distributor of GoBunion in the UK, and it's the perfect product to combine with her shoes.
Well, I think both are very good, but what I love what your bunion socks is that even if I wear those lovely fashionable shoes that kill me, that I can still come out and then restore it afterwards by having them on leisurely in my house, which I would have never thought about. And I would do that. That's me. That's me going from I tortured myself and now I'm gonna untorture it.
The key is what I started really doing is plateau. Try plateau shoes because they have in the front some higher layer and in the
Mhm.
back. But in total, you're not having that type of uh, how do you say? I only know the German word for that. But you're not walking in high heels like this, but you walk in high heels like this, you know? So maybe try a little bit about that plateau um, shoes where you still have that, you're so much taller, but you're still
Yeah.
comfortable. That's what I do nowadays.
Ah, that's very interesting. I know it sounds very strange that we're talking about feet, but I do think feet are very interesting. It is. I mean, you don't realize how feet is culturally related or how feet is related to gender also. So my question to you was, how tough has it been to be in this? How tough or how easy has it been to step in this industry?
Oh, it's been very difficult. It's been very difficult because you have competitors who are like big major companies and you're coming with a new product which is either half the price or so much better in the functionality. So people don't want you in the industry, that's for sure. And it's very difficult to find the right distribution channels. So the target group is big, but like when you have such a product, and you may have some features which other products don't have, and you're trying to to position yourself in a completely new way, it's
Mhm.
definitely challenging.
So in an ideal world or in an ideal moment right now, okay, if you wanted to work with a company today on the bunion socks, which would it be?
There's only one answer to that, and that's
Tell me.
Nike.
You want to work at, should we give a shout out to Nike and ask
Yes,
Nike to get in touch
please.
with you?
Yes,
So if anybody
just
in
do
Nike,
it.
if any of the
You know?
audience is listening, if you know anyone from Nike, please get in touch with us. There you go. So is Nike who you'd like to work with?
Yes,
Why
100%.
Nike?
I just love that. I like the branding.
Mm-hmm.
I like basically when I started with my company, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I literally said to myself, just do it. Back in the days, I wasn't aware that
Stronger brand.
these bunion socks are a medical product. So I just started and I thought it's a lifestyle product. So, and then through the process, people said, no, you cannot just import. Like you need a license for a medical product. I was like, no, it's not a medical product. You see, I just move with the bones and that's it. And I said, you just said it, you're moving bones. So I went through that whole process and I'm not sure if I would have done it knowing what is waiting for me. But I love the way I was like, like just do it, just start. And I did it. And it's just so satisfying knowing that, I've helped over 150,000 women so far with their bunion challenges. And
Amazing.
since the product is a sock and it's
Mm-hmm.
not visible from outside, Nike would be, that brand who I personally identify with.
Mm-hmm.
And I already have first basketball players being a testimonial for GoBunion, and it's a game changer to them. So yeah, Nike it is.
All right. So we better make sure somebody's listening from Nike who's got this. Why not? I mean, to me, I never thought about it. And I was having a discussion with my friends. I was like, oh, I met this amazing woman. She works with bunions. She does socks. And I was surprised how many even men were like, yeah, I suffer with this. I struggle with getting the right shoes for it. And I live with this pain. I was like, my God, this is like this was a silent silent pain that we walk with, literally walk with, and we don't even know what we're walking with. So,
No,
wow.
it's major, and you touch such a triggering topic here because people really go through things. Or you have a son whose mother has a bunion and it's been all life listening to her foot pain, where there are solutions, you know. So it really like the like living with bunions, not just from an aesthetic point of view, but it can also be, so painful. It's a big struggle. And, even after surgery, the bunion can come back. So even after the surgery, you
There's
have
no
to.
guarantee. Oh, because
Exactly.
it's hereditary.
Exactly. So even after a bunion surgery, you have to use products to make sure that the bunion isn't, coming back.
I would have never thought about it that way. I mean, you really opened my eyes about bunions. And to me, I don't think you ever imagined yourself getting into this.
No. My friend once said, "Do you realize you've been complaining about your foot pain for 10 years before I started GoBunion?" I was like, "What? No." And she's like, "Yes, back in the days, when we were in the club, you were complaining and you put toilet paper in between your toes because you couldn't walk anymore. You don't remember that?" I'm like, "What?" 10 years before I started. So, yeah. I would
How
have also
interesting is
not
that?
thought that there is not such product, And I mean, I started when I really reached my point where I was like, I can't handle this anymore. I don't want to handle it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I need something which is, easy to integrate in my life and to not think about it anymore. Really, it was bad.
Do you know, you hit on something very fascinating, right? I hear in the whole industry, everybody would market this thing of like, follow your passion, follow your passion. And everybody's trying to do the things they love. But I always notice that the ones that succeed come from a place of pain. It's because they had their own problem, they couldn't solve it, they were just struggling, had enough, said, "All right, I'm going to do something about this." So it's a different kind of passion, but it's not the passion of like, this is what I've always wanted. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening to your story and I'm like, that's exactly what it's been for you.
Mm-hmm. And then, as we were talking about values, to me, my mom is a translator. So, to me, language was always so important. That's also how I felt so loved in Macedonia. The way, they're talking to children, it's very similar to Italian or French culture, where, like kids are, so like they're the center of everything. And people live by that, and I enjoyed that so much. So language was always so important to me. And then, speaking fluent Macedonian. My Macedonian is better than my English. And then, speaking German as well, and then taking their German communication skills in addressing problems and issues, and being very solution oriented. All of these things played a very big role, and I always asked myself, where are my strengths?
Okay.
And I was like, I'm actually good in sales. I'm good in sales. I'm good in like talking. I love to socialize. I love to show people, interesting things, etc. So that's my thing. So I was like, and I want to help. I want to help women. That was my major thing, because I saw again in the Balkan with my Macedonian family how my auntie was having bunions forever, and she just lived with it, and I couldn't accept it. I really couldn't accept it. I'm like, this is not only because people lived a certain way. It doesn't have to mean. It doesn't have to mean that we have to continue like this. And I wanted to prove it. That only because you have a bunion doesn't mean you have to have pain. Sorry, no. And that was just one example of how, let's say, even my Macedonian family always lived with the pain of back pain, lived with tooth pain or whatever. They just lived with it instead of saying, hey, what is actually there? What can I do to actually, and then internet was already around, and yet there are possibilities for foot gymnastic against bunions, etc. So there are alternatives. So I thought the best way to prove that is to show it. And I was, fortunate enough to enjoy good education in Germany, and also to be having the time and the space, especially with my partner back in the time. He was like, babe, you do you, I got your back. If things go sideways, don't you worry, do you? And I think that's also something not a lot of women of color get to enjoy, where they have space for creativity, space to create, space to explore themselves. So if I wouldn't have had that, I'm not sure if I would have had GoBunion today.
So where do you see yourself going forward now? Because now you're in Dubai. It's a new, again, a further. I think it's a new word I've created. It's like a furtheration, not a futuration, but like you're going further. What's next?
Well, my next step is to make sure to connect with the right companies to bring GoBunion to the next level.
All right, Nike, hurry up.
Exactly. Yeah. That would be something. I would really love to share my story, and even the topics we've been talking about today. I would love to, talk that on massive platforms and just encourage, people to think carefully what they wish for. But if you have a passion, if you are passionate about a topic, whatever it is, trust that gut feeling, and whoever gets in your way and saying maybe, and putting their doubts which they have for their own life onto you, just be stronger than that. And it doesn't have to be entrepreneur life, because it's not always just roses, etc. It's really tough, and it's also not for everyone. And that's good that it's not for everyone. So when I talk about passion, I really mean that thing what makes you wake up in the morning and gives you a good feeling, gives you your purpose. So that could be anything. It could be also just a hobby.
Is it a good feeling or is it a good purpose? Because those are two different things.
It's a good feeling.
A good feeling. I find it interesting you saying it, because for me, I feel it's purpose. It's very interesting. Yeah, I feel for me, but I'm just talking from my perspective here, is that when I know that whatever I'm creating is almost like a little bit of a legacy you leave behind to help the future generation go forward. So it's not about leaving the me, myself legacy, but it's about leaving something behind that somebody else can work on it and then maybe take it further or make it completely different. And when I hear your story, it's pretty much a lot like that. So for me, it's not, I don't feel like you wake up with a good feeling. I feel you wake up with a very good purpose. Like, I got to do this because you're talking about your aunt, you're talking about your experience, even you putting tissue between your toes. I'm like, that's painful. I mean, you're going to work. That's painful. That's not, I feel good about this, but then doing that, you're going to do something purposeful. And you're just not, you're working towards changing, but also for females. Because when you told me that women struggle more than the average, that men, it never struck me. I'm sitting in my complete ignorance when you had mentioned that to me, and I thought, okay, so everything comes together. Who you are as your personality, your strengths, your way of looking at solving things. All of this, you've unpacked it today. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's what I've seen so far.
Thank you. I really love that. I would definitely think about that. I think what you have said, with that purpose and legacy, I don't want to leave a legacy behind, because I have amazing people in my family who, like granddads, who build a lot. And to be honest with you, I feel like, what is that legacy to me? And whenever I think about that, it leaves me with a feeling of for what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I did not know my granddad, it is definitely inspiring, but I am rather inspired by people of my surroundings and my environment rather than my granddad. So I question how a legacy built for the second, third, fourth generation, how big
Mm-hmm.
is my impact really on that? Speaking of now, and
Mm-hmm.
let's say being the first Black female solopreneur on Shark Tank Germany, and if, you know, I inspired or motivated women to at least think about, or give them a signal of everything is possible, that's beautiful. But it's
But isn't
not
that a
my,
legacy, though?
yes, maybe, but I don't do it for them. I did
Yes,
that in
that
my,
that part I understand. I
Mhm,
understand that if you start doing it for the word legacy, it's not legacy because then it
mhm.
becomes egotistical. But you're doing that's what I'm saying. The purpose that you're doing it for becomes a legacy without it needing the name legacy.
Yeah,
That's what I
very
refer
well
to.
said. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where I think, and I see your trajectory as that. It's like you've not done anything intentionally for that. You just
Yeah.
said you saw problem and you're looking for solution. You saw problem, looking for the solution. And then that drives you to the next step, to the next step, to the next step,
And I
you know.
enjoy it. Oh, I love finding solutions. It's so sexy. It's so sexy. Like I love, like, whew, it's like, give me more of that. That's why I said even in the beginning, like overcoming difficult situations in families, in friendships, and then growing stronger together, having a better understanding of one another. I'm a big fan of that. And then my friend circle and me, we love gadgets. We love everything. We love biohacking. We love everything what makes our life easier. If it's the bag holder you can put on the table, with that little thing. We love things like this. And being part of, a solution, that definitely gives me a great feeling. So
I'm
sexy.
actually I'm going to leave this conversation where it is only because I love this sentence. Problem solving is sexy.
Yeah,
Redefine it. Done.
I love it too. I never thought about it that way, or I never expressed myself before, but yeah.
And there you have it. What did you think about turning a problem into a solution? That's one. And then turning the solution into a business, which is where I would break it down. It got me thinking about one of these pause phrases in my books, and actually it's in all my books. It's one of the things I firmly believe in, which is every time you face a problem, it is the solution is in the problem. And Sarita effectively found a way and was able to take it one step further. And isn't it amazing? She broke layers and layers by getting it all the way into the Shark Tank Germany, by having the courage to step up and step forward, where many of us as women, we freeze at that. I know I certainly froze for a very long time when I had to wonder, could I even go on a TEDx space? I haven't had the courage to even put an application through. And so I admired her courage to always step it up and do something about it. And I would love to invite you to that conversation with yourself. When you look into your life, do you give yourself enough space to take that courage? And what is it that you would do to grasp it? Thank you for joining. And listen, if you really enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you could share this out with your network or with somebody who could really find use of it. Not only does it help the podcast grow, but it also gives these guests an opportunity to be heard. For example, in Sarita's case, I would love for Nike to contact her and support her in there, and we can do this together. So do share this podcast out in your networks. I would really appreciate it and look forward to sharing with you next week's episode. Have a good one. Take care.